Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of Aparajita Group of Companies to our 60 Minutes Compliance webinar series in partnership with Labor Law Practitioners Association, Chennai. I also take this opportunity to welcome our 1,500 plus registered attendees who are part of our session today. It is with great pride I would like to mention, we Aparajita have completed 20 dynamically powerful years in India. We were responsible for setting the tone for an organized compliance industry from the year 2000. Today, with a pan-India presence and humbly servicing 1,500 plus clients across 100 plus industries, we have also extended our compliance services to countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal. I would also like to take this opportunity to introduce Labor Law Practitioners Association, Chennai. With 30 years of knowledge and experience accumulated by its members, consisting of lawyers and trade union leaders, and Justice F.M. Ibrahim Khalifullah as his patron. The 60 Minutes Compliance series was formulated a year ago, keeping in mind the vast complexity by organizations in the workforce in India, on the non-availability of updated compliance knowledge across domains such as labor, industrial, and finance. It has been our continuous effort to provide legal perspective to the market at large through our webinar. Today, we discuss. Before I proceed, there are a few points to be noted. Any questions on the subject discussed today can be typed under the Q&A box available at the bottom of your screen. We will try our best to answer each one of them. In case we run out of time, please email us your questions to the mail ID on which you received your invite for this webinar, and our legal experts will directly address them back to you through mail. The session is recorded and will be posted on YouTube fortnightly, which can be viewed and accessed easily. The link will be provided to you in our chat box. Moving forward, I would like to introduce our esteemed facilitator for today's session, Mr. S. Ravindran. Mr. Ravindran is a designated senior advocate by Madras High Court with specialization in labor and service laws for the past 40 years. He represents managements before labor courts, industrial tribunal, and High Court of Madras. Mr. Ravindran is also an honorary president of Labor Law Practitioners Association, Chennai. Thank you, sir, for partnering with us and for your continuous support. And I hand over the forum to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
We are in the midst of another important session wherein we will be discussing IR code and code on social security. Now, this webinar is inaugurated by Mr. Justice S. Vaidyanathan, Judge of Madras High Court. Apart from the official information which is available about the learned judge in the High Court website, I'll give some other information which will be interesting for all the attendees. Mr. Justice S. Vaidyanathan is son of veteran trade union leader, Mr. S. Subramaniam. He is credited with being the first appellant to file an appeal under the then Madras Shops and Establishments Act when he was terminated from service by the management. It was numbered as MSC 1/48. What was lost for the company was a gain for the trade union movement ultimately, because he started a commercial employees union which took up the struggle of staff and other employees in the city of Madras. Mr. Vaidyanathan's father, I have seen him, he is a very serious person. I have not seen him smiling at all. He was so focused when I see him in the courts. And apart from his trade union movement service, another big service he has done to the legal fraternity is that he is a publisher of Madras Book Agency, which is continuously publishing the labor enactments, both central and state enactments for the past many years. In fact, the Industrial Relations Act has got more than 26 editions so far from April 1961 onwards. 1961 onwards. The book is well known for its accuracy to that extent. some years back when I met a senior lawyer in Supreme Court to instruct him on Industrial Relations ID Act, he referred to section 2J, and he referred to that section which dealt with the industry not being having some other facilities like hospitals, education institutions, etc. And I had to remind him section 2J, which was brought out by way of an amendment by Act 18 of 1982. Act 46 of 1982 was not notified for enforcement. He was completely shocked. He said, no, the book I am having does not reveal it. Then I showed him, sir, kindly see Madras Book Agency, it is an authority. It still says, as I read it, when Class C of Section 2 of the ID Act 1946 of 1982 comes into force, Class J shall stand substituted as follows. Then he wondered how he missed this important issue all these years. Then I told him, better you buy the Madras Book Agency book hereafter for referring to labor matters. Another important publication from Madras Book Agency was bi-weekly or bi-monthly journal called Labor Law Digest, which is the authority for all notifications of central government and the Tamil Nadu government. That was the only book which was exclusively for notifications. These are the two important contributions by Mr. Subramaniam to the legal fraternity. Mr. Justice Vaidyanathan, while practicing, was a very meticulous and organized lawyer, and he was an outspoken lawyer. That he carries that trait even as a judge is welcome, and is interest of judiciary as a whole. Now I request Mr. Vaidyanathan to inaugurate this webinar, which will be dealing with two important pieces of labor code, namely IR code and code of social security. Please welcome Mr. Vaidyanathan, Justice S. Vaidyanathan. Sir, the floor is for you for your inauguration and speech on the subject, which we all eagerly look forward. Thank you.
I'm really thankful to the organizers of this webinar for taking efforts to equip the legal fraternity on the labor codes to be notified by the government. Now I have been asked to inaugurate with regard to the second session, where again Mr. Our friend is going to address, Mr. Bharathan is going to address on this two code, namely Industrial Relations Code, which contains, which repeal 3 enactments, apart from the code on social security, which repeals as many as 9 enactments.
Sorry, can you come to the center, sir? Can you come to bit center? You are in a corner, actually.
Yes. Now.
Yes, we want.
Okay?
We want to fully see your beautiful face. Now, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now it's yes. Now.
Thank you.
See, the intention of the legislature is to ensure that the workers get access to healthcare, income security in old age, maternity, and loss of breadwinner by means of rights conferred on them, and the scheme framed under the code. The term social security is defined under section 2 within bracket 78 of the code on social security. Since, as I said earlier, Mr. Ravindran is going to, Mr. Vardhan is going to address, I don't want to take his time, except narrating few things which is appears into my mind that they required. Certainly there are going to be amendments to this act after once it is introduced. With regard to the gratuity, because it's a social security thing, the gratuity payable is on completion of 5 years. That is under the old Act 1972 as well as in the present enactment, which is going to be notified. However, with regard to fixed term of employment, payment of gratuity on pro rata basis is also provided. Though several enactments had been abridged into one code, both the employers and the employees will come across hiccups only at the time of implementation of the various provisions. And at that time, certainly there will be further amendments. Even though some of the acts have been repealed under the code, repealing and saving clauses are provided. I've gone through the code. I feel the issues already settled prior to 1980 will again be re-agitated pursuant to the introduction of these codes. Of course, the code could be made a workable one if there is good and cordial relationship between the employer and the employees. And it should not be like the lion and the lamb relationship. And the penal appeal to provisions for compounding of offenses. Insofar as the industrial dispute is concerned, the individual is entitled to raise a dispute without reference to the union on various issues. But the collective bargaining is curtailed to a maximum extent. Similarly, with regard to the non-implementation of the award or settlement, the prosecution is provided under the code similar to the one under section 32 of the 1947 Act, ID Act 1947. But in the present code, it is mandatory to make the company a party. If you read the old section 32, there is no need for make a company a party, even though there is a judgment of the Madras High Court. I think Justice Nagamuthu, which I don't subscribe to that. But now you have to make the company a party like the Negotiable Instruments Act. Where in the Negotiable Instruments Act, the company will have to be made a party. The provisions, I think it appears that the employee's personal properties can be attached with regard to non-implementation of the award or settlement. That is the properties of the director, managing director, one of the partners, a partnership firm, and the like can be attached in case of non-implementation of the award. Even if the company goes into liquidation, the company will formally be made as a party to the prosecution, so that the prosecution, the labor court shall go on, dehearts the proceedings under the Companies Act or other enactments, as one is for winding up and recovery, the other one is for punishment for violation. Yet another lacuna which I am able to see in the code is that with regard to the prosecution, sanction of prosecution. Which is already aware, the same lacuna is there in ID Act 1947 also. The tribunal which passes an award, headed by the presiding officer, here one is going to be the judicial member, the other is going to be the additional member. He is at the mercy of the government when an award that is passed attains the character of a judgment and decree, and waiting for the sanction of the government will definitely defeat the purpose of the award that is going to reach the workers during their lifetime. And the method of prosecution continues to remain the same. And that the court must ensure that the litigation is concluded during the lifetime of both the parties and issue is brought to the logical conclusion. With regard to the contract labor, even though the employment of contract labor has been prohibited under the code, there is an exemption for the principal employer to engage contract labor in case there is a core activity and certain provisions have been mentioned. Every rule has got an exemption. In the present code, on reading the entire section, the proviso nullifies the main section, and it is no doubt true that the employer will have to get the work done at the earliest point of time, and he cannot keep either the worker or the machine idle. But the employer cannot treat the employees like a machine. Similarly, employees neither assume employers are ducks laying golden eggs, nor expect that under whatever circumstances they must be paid. The relationship of an employer and employee is like a railway track, and both move parallel to each other. But if there is a fracture in the track, the train will derail. Considering the present economic situation, both the employer and the employees will have to sail together and ensure major output or productivity are given by the employees to the employer, and in the process, the employer shall be given a reasonable share so that the family members shall survive in a better situation. The Supreme Court has already held that the officials of the Labor Department shall not be appointed as the presiding officers of the tribunal. And by virtue of this code, the administrator can be from the Labor Department. Similarly, there is no provision for the Labor Court or the tribunal to grant interim orders as in the old Act. Interim award is possible, but there is no stay or injunction that is permitted either under the ID Act or in the present code. Except with regard to the Charter of Demands, I personally feel that there is no need for conciliation proceedings at all. Then, with regard to the matters that can be heard by a single member, either by the judicial member or the administrative member. But when the matter is finally heard, it should be heard by the bench. Only then there can be a finality. In the matter of appointment on the administrative type, though the officials in the Labor Department would be an expert in the field, their honesty must be thoroughly ascertained. Similarly, district judges are posted at the verge of retirement as presiding officer in the tribunal, and as a lawyer, presiding officer have no inclination to learn labor laws at all. That should not happen while implementing the code. With regard to the wages, similar provisions like 17B of the ID Act 1947 is available here. But once again, the last on wages will have to be interpreted, because last on wages shall not be less than the minimum wages. As and when the minimum wages revises, the last on wages should be not less than minimum wages, wherever it is prescribed. With regard to the employment exchange, they said it can be only registered, because the Supreme Court, as early as in 1996, 66 CC 216, has held that employment exchange is one of the modes of recruitment, and if any appointment is made by merely inviting names from employment exchange, that is bad. So now, even without reference to the employment exchange, also the employer can recruit, and it is not mandatory. Without further wasting the time of friends, and more particularly Mr. Varadan, so I would like to listen to him. Then I'll go through the entire 4 codes, instead of giving a lecture on Industrial Disputes Act 1947, I can give a lecture on the 4 codes as and when it is organized by Mr. Ravindran, so that I can give a comparative study of the benefits, merits and demerits of the new code, so that it can, by means of a discussion, we can make some suggestions. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity for inaugurating the second one, as I happened to inaugurate the first one in the absence of Mr. Khalifullah. Thank you, Mr. Ravindran.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Your speech was, inaugural speech was definitely on the expected lines. You have come out with your views without missing words. This is what we expect, and we are happy that what we expected you have said. And I also tell the attendees, because I want to be very sure about the notification. Justice S. Vaidyanathan, during his practice days, was responsible for an important amendment to the Tamil Nadu Shops and Establishments Act, which was brought out by Act 44 of 2008, by which Section 41 capital A was inserted, which said that during the pendency of the appeal, and thereafter, similar to Section 17B, the concerned employee who succeeded and the appeal writ petition is filed by the management, they should be given the last drawn wages. 41 capital A, payment of full wages to persons employed pending proceedings in the High Court. The learned judge is responsible for that, and it is of great importance to any number of employees whose shop act appeal is languishing in the High Court. Though High Court under 226 could mold, but there was a hesitation on the part of some judges. This has made it very clear they are entitled to. So this is another gift from Justice Vaidyanathan to the working class while he was practicing as a lawyer. And this is rightly reflected in his inaugural speech also, that the workman should be given certain benefits. And to echo his views, there is also provision under the IR code, which Mr. Varadan will explain, that during the pendency of the dispute itself, the workmen are entitled for interim relief, which is similar to 17B of High Court. They have not put it so clearly, but it is made clear. Gentlemen like Mr. Varadan can take note of Justice Vaidyanathan's view, because almost all the courts have a provision. For example, in occupational code, there is a provision, section 132, which says, in case of any difficulty arising in giving effect to the provisions of this code, the central government may make necessary provisions for removing the difficulty, not amendment, removal of difficulty, the difficulty within a period of 2 years from the date on which this code comes into effect. Such an order shall be laid before each House of Parliament. So, Mr. Varadan can take note of Justice Vaidyanathan's remarks in his inaugural speech, and we can put it forward through your association and other employers' association. I sincerely thank Mr. Justice Vaidyanathan for coming forward to give a lecture on these 4 codes, which will be definitely organized by a labor law association, but with the tie-up from Aparajita, because we don't have the resource or wherewithal.
No. I will definitely do it before December, because I'll have more time to read at Madurai.
Yes.
I'll have more free time to read books at Madurai. Okay. So, and that is a good opportunity for me to read and share my views. The difficulties can be removed.
Yes. Sir, you give a date anytime along with Mr. Varadan's Aparajita, subject to his approval, and our association will be very happy to conduct one more webinar on this. Thank you so much. Now I request Mr. Varadan to start the seminar. Varadan is a great resource person. very difficult to get his time. And I don't want to interfere in his time any more minute, so that the attendees who are eagerly waiting to listen him will have the benefit of it. After Mr. Varadan's session, we'll have a small interaction between us, which may lead to subsequent question and answer. I warmly welcome Mr. Varadan for the next session on IR code, which is having a great say for legal practitioners, and also the social security code, which has been a remarkable one in my view, wherein large number of informal workmen have been brought into social security code. Let's hear from Mr. Varadan. Mr. Varadan, good morning, and please start your session.
Yeah, sure.